So hello YouTube, and today I want to talk about a very unusual artifact. It's called the celestial disk from Nebra, or Nebra sky disk. It's one of the most intriguing historical artifacts found by modern man. It is at least 3,600 years old, and the diameter of the disk is 30 centimeters, and it shows us the night sky in a unique way. This is the oldest such graphic image known to archaeologists, and that's according, by the way, to that young Russian military scientist, or former military scientist, and I would say space intelligence operative, or whatever else he was doing in the time of his service. I mean, he's very bright, and I like to see where his attention turns to on his website. So it kind of shows me what qualified and trained people in the murky world of intelligence or military research are looking at. So he was very much interested in this disk. And this amazing object is rightfully a participant in the UNESCO Memory of the World program, because quite obviously it is one of the most important witnesses of an unknown page in the history of mankind. This is the real key to a whole culture that we did not even know existed, according to Sergei. We know that once there were highly developed cultures of Egypt, Mesopotamia, and Greece. And first of all, we know about them thanks to the written sources and various architectural structures. Of course, there were people and different cultures in Europe at that time too. Civilizations we know nothing about. However, they did not leave us any written documents, and without such documents it is difficult to form an idea of a civilization that is of great interest to researchers. It is obvious that hieroglyphs, pyramids, cuneiform tablets and texts that talk about kings, gods, and pharaohs are very different from bones, broken ceramics, and just holes in the ground where rotten wooden pegs from houses are found. The history of ancient Europe has long suffered from a lack of interest in science, and in the public conscience there has never been a civilization that has achieved anything significant if you associate it with Europe. I mean, I told you about the Etruscans, and of course, you know, the Greeks, ancient Greeks before them, and the Romans, and of course the Minoan civilization. This is very important. It's very ancient. It has had achievements that I don't think we know about all of them, and some are quite very well maybe hidden from us, but I'll get separately into the Minoan civilization later. Well, this celestial disk from Nebra appeared on the scene of today's everyday life unexpectedly. It was not at all defined as some unexpected. This was incomparable, for example, with the discovery of the city of Troy by Heinrich Schliemann, who was looking for this particular city. He had a purpose. Or with the discovery of the Tutankhamun's tomb by Howard Carter, who did not want to find anything but the tomb of the pharaoh. Well, the celestial disk from Nebra appeared out of nowhere for modern science. You know, it was something that no one even remotely expected to see. And there was no historical context in which it could fit. The disk was found in the land of Saxony, Anhalt, Germany. It's in the heart of Europe, and it comes from those times where there's not a single culture that could create something like this. It was not just necessary to sort out the disk itself, it was necessary to understand how and why it was made. So the history of ancient Europe has not had as much attention, like I said, as it should be. Maybe this disk will help, but again, we need to understand a little bit more about it. So I will tell you all the information I've collected about the disk and the surrounding area. It's not as much as I would like to, but maybe it will start you on your search. The object was discovered by private unsanctioned archaeologists using a metal detector in 1999 in a prehistoric enclosure around the Mittelberg Mound in the Zieglerode Forest near the town of Nebra, 112 miles southwest of Berlin. So this sky disk of Nebra was not excavated by archaeological experts on site, I want to underline, but was found by the, let's call them treasure seekers. I think it was on July 4th, 1999. Together with a bronze treasure including swords, and suggesting that this disc might have been a shield. Unfortunately, the treasure hunters, carelessly removing it from the ground, severely damaged the disc. They broke the outer rim, lost one star, and tore off a fragment of the gold coating of the disc. They tried to sell the disc along with two swords, a chisel, I believe 2 axes, and fragments of bracelets to local archaeologists. However, it turned out that by law these items belonged to the people of Saxony-Anhalt, the lands where they were discovered, so the criminals had no right to legally sell them. In February 2003, they tried to sell the disc to a dealer in antiquities, a collector, from Switzerland for, I think, almost $500,000. The collector turned out to be an employee of the Swiss police, and his actions were part of a secret operation to expose the robbers. The encounter took place in the basement of the bar of the Hilton Hotel in Basel, where those criminals were arrested, having seized the precious find. Today the disc is the property of the people of the land of Saxony-Anhalt. It is not only very strange, but famously appeared to be winking, initially raising the suspicion that it may be a hoax. Well, scholars have, however, claimed it firmly for the Bronze Age, and the debate now moves to the matter of its meaning. Here the people provide subtle interpretations. Some people say that it's a shamanistic device of a local warrior society. Most researchers tend to believe that the artifact had a very specific purpose, created for certain aims, most likely related to the exact determination of the time of the occurrence of some astronomical phenomena. Maybe. It is obvious that the disk was modified during the operation. The arc that can be seen located at the bottom, you can look at the photographs, located at the bottom of the disk, was apparently added later, since the alloy of which it consists has a different gold content than the arc located on the right of the photograph. In the left part of the disk, there was apparently another arc, which has been lost today. So what do those arcs mean? Researchers believe that if the disk is held horizontally like a map, the right arc shows the area on the horizon where the sun rises during the year, and the arc on the left shows the corresponding sunset. In addition to the arcs, the celestial disk from Nebra has yellow round objects that are obviously stars. They are distributed so evenly on the celestial disk that it must have been done intentionally. The only thing that stands out against a flat stellar background is the 7 stars of the Pleiades cluster, and it must be assumed that this is what the creators of the celestial disk were looking for. But German scientists wrote that the rising and the setting of the Pleiades plays no discernible role in ancient time in Germany or in Northern Europe, and the Pleiades also played no discernible role for astronomical orientation at famous megalithic sites such as Stonehenge, which dates to the same period as the sky disk of Nebra. So it's about 1750 BC. The Pleiades at more northerly latitudes were simply not bright enough at rising or setting to be of much value for astronomical orientation at the horizon. So that's the opinion of at least some scientists. Anyway, all this makes the celestial disk from Nebra a unique and fascinating object. Its story is fascinating itself. Like I told you, it's like a crime thriller. And there was police and undercover investigators in this story, and everything else connected with it. The drama combines astronomy, physics, archaeology, history, art, and literature. So the disk from Nebra is a message from the deep past, from a culture, civilization whose existence we have long forgotten. When the Nebra disk was buried, it had already been in use for 200 years. While its raw materials were imported from as far as Cornwall, that's very interesting to know, the knowledge required to create the object was entirely local, drawn from observing the heavens from atop Mittelberg, a mountain near the modern village of Nebra. So that's according to other scientists. The bronze disk, the world's oldest representation of a specific astronomical phenomenon, had 5 phases over its history. In the first phase, the disk showed a night sky with 32 gold stars, including the Pleiades, a gold orb representing the sun or a full moon, and a crescent moon. It served as a reminder of when it was necessary to synchronize the new lunar and the solar years by inserting a leap month. This phenomenon occurred when the 3.5-day-old moon, the crescent moon on the disk, was visible at the same time as the Pleiades. The astronomical rules that are depicted would not have been imaginable without decades of intensive observation, according to Harald Meller, who is director of the State Museum for Prehistory in Halle. Until the sky disk was discovered, no one thought prehistoric people capable of such precise astronomical knowledge. Artisan added 2 gold arcs to the sides of the disk, hiding 2 original stars. The arcs, one of which was later removed, show the horizons as seen from Mittelberg on the summer and winter solstices. At some unknown time, a stylized ship was affixed at the bottom as an allegorical symbol of the sun's journey across the sky. One of the most fascinating aspects of the sky disk is that its first 2 phases show the results of pure observation, astronomical knowledge without any religious or mythological implications, according to Miller. It's only in the 3rd phase that these aspects, represented by the ship, are added. Next, holes were bored around the disk's edge, probably to attach it to a pole to be carried as a standard. Finally, around 1600 BC, the disk, perhaps no longer of either scientific or religious use, was buried, likely as an offering to the gods. Some researchers consider it the oldest image of the cosmos, of outer space. It was probably a device for astronomical calculations, allowing to determine the time of planting and harvesting. For thousands of years, monuments were created in Northern Europe, the location of which indicated the summer and winter solstice. The more striking examples are Stonehenge in England and the New Grange in Ireland. In the Bronze Age, for representatives of agricultural communities, the ability to set the time of year, and thus the time of planting and harvesting, was undoubtedly vital. One of these methods was to determine the position of the sun during sunset and dawn. Intrigued by the possibilities of using the disk from Nebra as an astronomical instrument, Professor Wolfhard Schlosser from the Bochum University measured the angle between the 2 arcs located at the edge of the disk and found it to be 82 degrees. Surprisingly, it turned out that on the Mittelberg Mound, at the angle of 82 to the horizon line, is formed from the highest point reached by the rising sun during the summer solstice to the lowest point of the setting sun during the winter solstice. The angle varies depending on the place of observation. For example, a little further north it will be 90 degrees, and a little further south it will be 70 degrees. Within Central Europe, it is equal to 82 degrees. Schlosser came to the conclusion that the arcs along the edges of the disk from Dnieper represent the solstice in this area. This may indicate that agricultural communities in Central Europe were able to make the most complex astronomical calculations long before it was previously assumed. Here is something different about this stellar constellation. In addition, the presence of the Pleiades constellation on the disk once again confirms that the people of the Bronze Age had astronomical knowledge. Today, only 6 stars of the constellation can be observed with the naked eye, but it is quite possible that in the Bronze Age, the 7th star could be brighter. So there are 7 stars on the disk, and the ancient Greeks called the constellation 7 Sisters. For many ancient civilizations, including Mesopotamia and Greece, the Pleiades played an important role. The constellation appeared in the sky in the autumn, indicating the beginning of harvest, and disappeared in the spring, indicating the time of sowing grain. The examples given give reason to conclude that the disk was of great importance for prehistoric agriculture, and to assume that the third golden arc located under the Mons and the golden disk itself personify the harvest cycle. There's another opinion. The disk shows the sky during the day and the arcs are a rainbow. However, most researchers believe that the third arc is a solar rook. Similar symbols were found on Scandinavian ship of the Bronze Age and a solar card from Trumholz, a Danish artifact of the 15th or 14th century BC, depicting a horse that carries the sun in a chariot. However, first of all, the origin of this symbol and the formation of the belief of ancient people that the sun sails on a ship across the night sky from west to east is connected with Egypt. The Egyptians believed that the most powerful deity, the Lord of the Sun, Ra, travels to the night sky on a ship and is reborn every morning with the sunrise. If the golden arc at the bottom of the disk from Dnieper really represents a solar boat sailing across the night sky, then this is the oldest evidence of the existence of such beliefs in Europe. Other examples are known. One such piece of evidence was found 15 miles from where the disk from Dnieper was discovered, not far from the town of Gozek, in a wheat field. Thanks to our aerial photography, the ruins of a building that is now considered the oldest European observatory were discovered for the first time. The German Stonehenge, as it is called there, is a huge circle with a diameter of 246 feet. It was built by the oldest agricultural communities of this region around 4900 BC. The object consists of 4 concentric circles, a mound, a moat, and 2 wooden palisades as tall as a man, as a human being. Behind the fence, there were 3 gates facing southeast, southwest, and north, respectively. The observer in the center of the circle during the winter solstice actually could see the sunrise and sunset through the southeastern and southwestern entrance. So it's safe to say, if the position of these gates is connected with the position of the sun during sunrise and sunset during the winter and summer solstices, then the residents of the town of Gozek, or whatever it was at the time, were able to accurately calculate the trajectory of the sun across the sky. Indeed, the angle between the 2 solar gates of the circular structure in Gozek corresponds to the angle between the golden arcs located at the edges of the disk of Dnieper. Although the disk from Dnieper was created 2400 years before the appearance of Gozek, Professor Wolfhard Schlosser is confident in the existence of a connection between them, since both demonstrate the astronomical knowledge of ancient people. Schlosser even suggested that the disk depicts the oldest primitive astronomical observatories, probably built according to the Gozek type. Neolithic Gozek circle in Germany was built with the help of several circular ditches. Through the last bridges were thrown in the right places, and the bridges they were equipped with a special gate. Through them, on certain days of the year, sunlight penetrated. These facts indicate that the Gozek Circle is one of the oldest observatories in the world. Now, according to archaeologists, the Gozek Circle was built in the Stone Age. With its help, the priests allegedly could learn about the onset of the winter solstice. It was this goal that was pursued by the detailed restoration of the prehistoric monument. As far as I know, the Gozek Circle was discovered in 1991 when they were studying the terrain from aboard the airplane. So during one of the flights on the wheat field, they found round outlines. A certain time passed while the material that was obtained began to be studied by appropriate experts. Then it was necessary to settle matters with the owners of the land where it's located. So only in 2002 excavations began. And when the excavations took place, the picture of the distant past was being recreated to the best of our abilities. The ancient temple of the sun was 75 meters across. In a circle, it was surrounded by 2 rings of a wooden fence of 2.5 meter height and 3 gates. For the restoration of the monument, 7 months of real hard labor and quite a big number of oak logs were used. So, who knows if it was the first farmers who settled in the area that they built that circle. We just don't know. Most likely it was done by some other people, and we just don't know what their origin. And apparently the people who built it, they knew astronomy quite well. The Gozek Circle was not only an observatory. According to some, it is possible that mysterious magical cults were held there, rituals. This is why the find is often called the German Stonehenge. So this German monument of ancient science was built apparently 2,000 or 3,000 years earlier than the British Stonehenge. According to the researchers, the observatory, erected 6,000 to 8,000 years ago, now we have this date, gave the start to the construction of a whole series of similar structures throughout Europe, and that the British Stonehenge allegedly was the final in this series. I don't know if they got as far away as Armenia, because recently I provided you information about the Armenian Stonehenge, and there's more to tell you. But what do we know about ancient people, except what's found in the writings of Josephus, Herodotus, and a few other sources? The Gozek Circle was built by a representative of an ancient culture, so perhaps it was used to compile the lunar calendar. So the latter, as I said, is very important in the conduct of agriculture. During the excavations, traces of fires, remains of people and animals were also found. Apparently at the southeastern gate they found a headless skeleton, which probably was the result of a sacrifice. No traces of fires or any other damage were found. Later residents of these places dug a protective ditch around the old ditches. So an ancient mysterious disc was found, if you think about it, not that far from Gozek. It depicts the sun and planets around, and I told you about it. And in the place where it was found, there was also a structure in the form of a ring. But again, the age of the disc is much younger. It's like 3.6 thousand years altogether. There is no doubt to some that the images on this disc are the result of a lengthy observations of the sky. And most likely even the Gozek Circle did not stand at the beginning of these observations. So today, as far as I know, this Gozek Circle is fully restored in the modern sense. Once a year, people attend the winter solstice ceremony. On this day, the first rays of the sun rise exactly in the southeastern gate of the complex and rush into the center of the complex. And closer to the evening, attendees can see the reverse picture with the rays only through the southwest gate. Exactly the same spectacle was observed by the priest in this place thousands of years ago. Supposedly, I think, I don't know, I can only surmise, but I do want to know more, and I want to tell you something. I have already told you about some interesting recollections of the Soviet military and intelligence officers who during World War II, fighting Nazi Germany, the troops were moving to Eastern Europe, and they found very interesting things in Germany. Such officers, of course, did not want to speak to their superiors, not to get burned, so to say, about things that Marxism, Leninism cannot explain. But you can't hide phenomena when it exists. But they did talk to a Russian writer when they were in their older years, I would say back in 1980s, and he wrote down some of the most interesting cases. And there are 2 or 3 that took place in Germany that I do want to tell you, because his books are not available in English. And I will not give away everything. It's his work, but I do want to tell you about some of the most interesting things that were discovered or cited in the wartime Germany, the World War II Germany, and also some in surrounding countries, but primarily in Germany. I don't know if there is any connection to mysterious Venice civilizations, but stay tuned. I promise I'll do it. And if you like my research, please support me. You will see the links in the description to this video. This really helps. I appreciate it. And there's much more I want to tell you about in the Eurasian paranormal phenomena field and other parts of the world that also demand our attention. Thank you.